guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mindy. Today we're going to talk about ways to create more quality time with your children. I'm going to give you three ways, and it's going to help you improve your relationship with your children and just be happier with your kids. Number one way to create more quality time with your child is to use your waiting time. Okay, this doesn't cost any money and it doesn't cost any additional time. You're already waiting. So what I'm talking about is when you're in line at the grocery store, grocery shopping, at the bank, return line at Kohl's, your commute time to and from school, taking your child to practice, or whatever it may be. We all have these little bits of time that it's kind of like our dead space. You know, you can turn that into quality time with your child by just asking them questions about their day. But here's the thing, you can't just be like, how was your day? It was fine. Okay, that's very boring. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is ask specific questions. If you don't know where to start with this, you can actually look on Pinterest or whatever and type in questions to ask my year old, whatever, however old your child is, and you will get thousands of questions. I usually just keep it simple and I'll ask her something about school, but I'll ask something very specific, like, who did you play with today at your first recess? So it's a very specific question for her to answer. So I'm doing the heavy lifting of asking her a specific question. Rather than asking her for something interesting to say, I'm going to ask an interesting question. What was the funnest thing that happened today? Or did something different happen at school that isn't like usual? It's surprising and it's really fun because you find out what your kid comes up with. What do they think is fun? It could be anything. Sometimes it's like, oh, today I was chosen to be the mystery walker because I did such a good job walking in line in the hallway. And then you get to give your child additional praise for doing a good job at school. And it's all very positive. As a bonus for this tip, it actually turns what might be the worst part of your child's day into the best part of their day. No kid wants to sit in line at the bank. None of us want to wait. Another thing that I do is when I'm waiting in line, I have a little Blue Note app. And it's a musical thing. So, if your child's in music, then maybe you know what I'm talking about. Some learn the treble clef staff or the bass clef staff. And so we'll do that together. But I don't just shove the phone in front of her and say, here, do this. I'm busy. I actually interact with her and I actually say, oh, what do you think this note is? And well, what's the one above it? And we work together through it. And what's surprising is that when we have these little interactions in line and we try to be quiet and respectful to the people around us, but my experience is that when people actually see us interacting instead of just waiting and her whining, and instead they kind of see this little cute situation, it kind of lifts the whole mood of the room. It's really interesting what positive interaction does, not just for us and our children, but for the other people around us, for the world in general. We all need more positivity, right? That's my tip number one, is just use that downtime to have a little conversation or just have a moment with your child when you're just otherwise doing nothing. My next tip is to take a breath and think hard before you say no. I get it. Dinner is on the stove and the noodles are boiling over and the Brussels sprouts are burning, and I get it that your kid's like, Mommy, come look at what I'm doing. And you're like, no, I'm busy. But next time this happens, just try this instead. Just take a big breath and just consider saying yes. Okay, if you can just take the lid off the noodles and shake the Brussels sprouts around and go look at their Lego creation, it doesn't take very much time actually to make your child extremely happy. Think about this, our children's entire childhood is waiting for us. And I don't get credit for that. I read it somewhere and I wish I could remember where, but they're just waiting for our attention. They just love us so much and all they want is our attention. So if you can just possibly take a breath and say, sure, honey. And it literally takes 10 seconds. Oh, baby, that's an amazing Lego creation. I love the little bridge that you built between the buildings. What goes underneath the bridge? Monsters? Well, where's your monster? Well, you better create one. Bam! They're busy for another 10 minutes making a monster so that they can show you that. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's on point, like one-on-one quality time, but it's definitely adding like a bright spot to your child's day and maybe hopefully to your day too. In a stressful moment, if you can just enjoy your children in that moment instead. On a similar note, my daughter used to always say to me, Mom, will you play princess with me? And it was always while I was cooking, sticking with the cooking theme here. It was just so easy for me to be like, I can't right now, honey, I'm busy. I need to get dinner on, blah, blah, blah. But one day I said yes to her. It turns out that all playing princess means to her is putting a crown on my head. And after everything she says, my queen. As a bonus, I told her we were preparing for the royal banquet and that the princess's job was to prepare the royal table, and she set the table. So it can work out, okay? Sometimes we build up in our head what it means to play with our children, or, oh, I have to like set aside this time. Sometimes just our regular everyday things can just include our kids, and they're just happy for that. My third tip is to make everyday chores fun. Okay, what could be like not a very fun part of the day, like picking up toys at the end of the evening? That used to really be a struggle, and I don't want to clean up. And I would get into lecture mode and say, well, is it fair that mom has to pick up all of your toys that you've played with all day? And it just wasn't very fun. And it's important to have those conversations about, you know, how we need to pick up after ourselves, but also it doesn't have to be horrible, right? So what I do now is I say, we need to clean up. We're gonna have a cleanup dance party. I put on a couple of songs, and 5 or 6 minutes later, the office, which is also her playroom, is starting to look pretty good, pretty decent. Then I take a moment to tell her what a good job she's done, right? That was really fun. Thank you so much for helping me clean up the office. Look how nice it looks. Now we have space to play tomorrow. Another way to make everyday chores fun, things that you're doing anyways, to just include your child in them. So on the weekend when I'm cleaning and dusting, my daughter actually enjoys playing with me. And bonus, she makes us little aprons made out of paper, and we're maids. And I made one, and she's made two, and she's created this whole storyline in her head. And she helps me clean, and we have fun doing it. The same thing can be done similarly with brushing teeth or brushing our hair. Just trying to add in some levity, add in some kind of fun component to these things that aren't very fun can really change the day and make special time instead of fighting. So if you can take the most difficult parts of the day for your child and make them good or even great, you've really impacted their childhood in a little tiny way every single day. And overall, you've completely transformed your quality time with your child. It doesn't have to be giant things that we do all the time. It doesn't have to be planning trips for Disney World or, you know, and those things are important too. I mean, not necessarily on that scale. We don't have to take our children to Disney World to be amazing parents. The big things are important, but the small everyday things, I would say, are maybe even more important to make every day fun and cool and show your kid how they can have a great time and be happy. Okay, so there I've given you 3 ways to create more quality time with your kids. And this is on an everyday basis. That's what's great about these things. They're not costing you any additional time. You're already waiting in line. You're already doing your daily chores. It's just a way to turn these regular things into quality time. And we're doing that by using our waiting time in lines or in the car, by thinking before we say no and just consider saying yes anyways, and by making everyday chores fun. Hopefully this helps you and gives you some ideas to start to transform your relationship with your child. So my challenge to you is to pick 1 or 2 of these things. Over the next couple of days, really focus on implementing them. And that means planning in advance. Yes, we actually have to plan these things out. Think about when you're going to do it and what you're going to do. Like tomorrow, during the drive to piano, I am going to ask my child what special thing happened at school today. And I'm just gonna try and remember to do that. And try to notice how does your child respond to these things? Are they thrilled that you're interacting with them when they weren't expecting it? Are they a little confused because they're not used to it? Listen, if that happens, don't be put off by it, okay? Keep trying, because again, if it's new to them, then they might just be a little bit caught off guard, but keep trying. And I bet after just a couple of minutes of you asking questions, all of a sudden you'll have that breakthrough where they light up and they start telling you something, and that's the magic. That's when you're connecting with your child. So good luck. Please implement these tips. Please tell me in the comments below if you've tried something, what has worked for you, or if you have another idea, please include it below, and I'll see you in the next video.